goes.
We're all over.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's about 8:30.
I don't know that your mic's on.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's 8:30. We need to get our meeting started. Thanks for everyone coming this morning. The meeting to order, the first order of business is to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Brown. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Walker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next on the agenda is personnel matters. Okay.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I appreciate your time this morning and an opportunity to once again recognize one of our officers for outstanding work. The police department often asks their personnel to go into situations that a lot of people might not go into, just like all of our public safety officers do. But sometimes someone goes above and beyond. And here this morning to recognize one such officer, Officer Joshua Bethune. This morning, it's my privilege to notify you that you've been nominated by Lieutenant Alan Woods to receive the Dalton Police Department Award of Valor. This is not an award that is given lightly and not an award that's given very often. The criteria for this award is described in our policy as a member of the department who, conscious of danger and great risk of imminent personal hazard to life, distinguishes themselves by intelligently performing an act of heroism or valor above and beyond the call of duty. On January 26th of this year, while off duty, I mind you, Officer Bethune came upon a crash on Cleveland Highway, a very serious crash involving a passenger car and a tractor trailer. Without hesitation, he moved into action and began directing other people at the scene, putting himself in danger by entering a car that had caught fire, was able to extract one of the occupants of that vehicle and get them into a safe situation. And then, knowing that the situation was worsening, attempted to go back again into that burning car to help someone else. And because of those actions, someone today is safe and is with us. And because of his willingness to place himself in harm's way, I apologize, that sun is perfect location, but because of his willingness to place himself in the place of potential personal hazard to try to prevent further harm to a citizen. This morning, we are awarding him with the Dalton Police Department Award of Valor. We're extremely proud of your professionalism, your diligence, and your willingness to put yourself into the line of duty, even when into the line of harm, even when you're off duty, sir. And I applaud you for that. And I'm very humbled to be here to be able to give you this award this morning.
Congratulations. We're proud of you as well, and we appreciate your family coming to see you this morning. But we appreciate your bravery and being part of the family. And thank you very much for the commission as well as the community. Thank you.
Good morning. The next item of business for the police department this morning is a promotional confirmation. Very pleased to be able to bring this individual before you for confirmation to the rank of lieutenant today. Woody, will you stand up for me? All of you know Woody or have seen Woody around. He's been one of our pillars at the department that pretty much make sure everything happens the way it should happen all the time. We can always count on him. He is basically single-handedly coordinated all of our personnel responses when we were dealing with the pandemic immunizations and treatment centers and all that, made sure that we were there. He worked those events himself and really distinguished himself by doing that. So when it got time for this promotion to come up, it was one of those decisions that wasn't very hard to make. His body of work pretty much speaks for itself. I'm gonna give you a brief bio on Woody here. He does have some family members here with him this morning, so they wanted to come and see his promotion this morning. But he is a 1986 graduate of Northwest Whitfield High School. He received his Associates of Science degree in December of 2012 from Thomas University. He began his career at the Dalton Police Department in 2002. He got a little bit later start at the police department because at the time he originally was looking at coming to work for us. We had his cousin working for us, and we weren't hiring family with a nepotism rule that was in place at that time with the previous administration. So we got kind of a delay on getting Woody into our ranks because of that. But I think it was worth the wait for us. I don't know for him, but for us, it was definitely worth getting him on board then. And in 2008, he moved up the ranks to patrol officer first class. In 2014, he was made a master police officer, and he was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2015. He's been serving as the special operations sergeant, which handles all the events and details that we get tasked with since August of 2018. And he has done an outstanding job with that. Since he's taken over that unit, they've won first in the traffic safety ward a couple of times, which we'd always get second. We never would get first. They'd always be an obstacle to us getting there. And him and his crew have figured out how to get us past that. He has 10 outstanding performance awards, 4 commendation letters for performance, and has been recognized as Employee of the Month one time since his employment with the Dalton Police Department. I'm presenting him to you this morning for promotion to the rank of lieutenant, and I ask for your confirmation.
Second.
Mr. Brown, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Again, this is another opportunity that we cherish to be able to stand before you this morning and recognize a member of our department. And this morning we'll be recognizing and presenting a certificate of recognition to our 2022 Firefighter of the Year. And to remind the commission, the way we arrive at this decision is this is completely and solely voted upon, nominated and voted upon by his peers. And this morning, I'll be presenting Firefighter Matt Asbell as Dalton Fire Department's 2022 Firefighter of the Year. Firefighter Asbell has been with our department for just over 19 years, where he joined our department in January of 2003. Since joining our department, he has went up through the ranks. He currently holds the rank of a Firefighter 3, which is one of our senior firefighters. Also, Firefighter Asbell is currently in the training pipeline for attaining a certification as one of our fire investigators, which we are in much need of, adding to those numbers. Also, as a Firefighter 3, Matt routinely rides in charge of his company, where he continually strives to stay educated and proficient in the latest skill sets related to the job. Most notably, in recent months, unfortunately for us, sometimes we perform what would be called a heroic act, I guess, in the civilian life where we're presented with an opportunity to utilize our skill sets and attempt to provide a life-saving acts for civilians. And but the unfortunate fact is sometimes they don't survive. And that goes unnoticed. But this did not go unnoticed for firefighter Asbell, as over the past 12 months, firefighter Asbell not once, but twice has put his life at risk and entered 2 burning structures to give the occupants of that structure the most chance at continuing life. Unfortunately, both of those individuals succumbed to their injuries, but Matt stepped up, recognized what needed to be done, put his training into action, went into the structures and retrieved those occupants and bringing them out so that life-saving efforts could be attempted. And it is for this, along with his dedication to our service, his dedication to his position, and his dedication to his fellow firefighters, that we present to you this morning Matt Asbell is Dalton Fire Department's 2022 Firefighter of the Year. Congratulations, Matt.
All you guys this morning. I was thinking on the way over here, what a great morning to recognize, you know, hard work and active hours and fire year. We certainly appreciate all of you. Can't say thank you enough. Thank you. We will. We'll take a 5-minute recess for you guys to take pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic overload.
Oh, yeah, they do that a lot. So,
Oh, yeah.
mhm.
I wouldn't have given them a research.
It was just a second. We're looking for one of the alcohol applications. We'll have to bring the. back.
They don't want the part of they don't want the exciting part of the meeting. It's really exciting.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, good morning again. We'll bring our meeting back to order. And the first order of business is to approve the minutes from February 22nd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved. Next on the agenda is the alcohol applications.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning. Today, we just have two alcohol applications. The first one being doing business as Antojo Cocina y Cantina, which is located at 116 West King Street. The applicant's name is Karina Perez. The licenses being applied for are pouring beer, pouring wine, and pouring liquor. And we do have the applicant here. Can you go up there to the mic?
Hello, my name is Karina Silva Perez. Good morning.
Time for an alcohol permit. Have you had a chance to review all the laws and regulations that go along with this application?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, sir.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Walker. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairman. The second one will be doing business as Baja Coop. The applicant's name is going to be Mr. John McKinney. Location will be 222 North Hamilton Street. Type of licenses being applied for are pouring beer and pouring wine.
Question.
John, my name's John McKinney. Yes, sir, I did. No. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second by Mr. Walker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Can the applicants meet me out there, please? I'll be out there with you in a second, okay?
Okay, next up on the agenda is the police department.
Glad the sun is set a little bit higher there because I couldn't even see y'all to start with. I thought it was going to be a painful meeting. The first portion I'll be presenting to you from the police department, part of the packet, is crime and crash statistics for February 2022. They begin on page 9 in your packets. You'll see that this is the 5-year trends on part 1 and part 2 crimes. Please report that part 1 crimes are significantly lower than the 5-year average, roughly 37.2%, which is a very good trend to have there. Part 2 crimes are also down, not down as much, but we are very pleased to see that they are down. A positive trend is the increased or decrease in violent crimes. You'll see that we specifically had a decrease of 4 violent crimes during the same time period compared to last year. Last year, we had some concerns because we saw that number trending up. So we went from 15 last year down to 11 during the month of February 2022, which is something that we're very pleased to see. The crashes are lower than the 5-year average, but they are starting to return to the pre-pandemic crash levels. So we do anticipate that we will see that number continue to rise over the next few months as even more of the businesses return to completely normal operations. We saw that our calls for services show a decrease of approximately 12.1% during the same time period over the 5 years. Part of that's going to be staffing level that accounts for that. We have 6 positions that we're not filling at all. Plus we've got another 5 positions that are vacant. And so you roughly have 11 bodies that aren't out there doing self-initiated activity as well as preventive activities. So, you know, that counts into the calls for service some, but you'll start to see that go up in the coming months because very pleased to tell y'all that we have 5 cadets that will be going to the academy.
You're working hard on that.
Our support service staff and as well as investigators and patrol officers who did the backgrounds did a wonderful job. So on Monday, I had 5 cadets show up to the police department to start their career with their department. So if all goes well in about 12 weeks or so, we'll be bringing them here for confirmation once they've achieved their basic certification from the state. So we hope to be increasing our self-initiated activity as we get these individuals out there on the road. But very, very, very pleased to be able to tell you we have made some progress for a change. That gets us to our allocated staffing level, puts it at full staff, but we do have a retirement that Woody's going to be taking the spot for. So we're already trying to fill that spot, and for another individual that we anticipate will be leaving us fairly soon. So we're working towards doing that, but for the very moment, we're looking pretty good on staffing. And we even filled our vacant non-sworn position. Our Bernice Cumnick, who had worked for the municipal court for years. She's coming over to become a property and evidence technician for us. So she's going to be a wonderful asset for us as well. All right. The next page in your packet is page 10. This is a table showing part 1 and part 2 crimes. It trends over the 5-year period. You'll see that robberies are trending up in comparison to 2021. We're going to keep a close eye on that, but there's nothing to be overly alarmed with at this point. But we will be watching that to make sure that we don't have a group of individuals perpetrating those offenses here in town. Like I already said, overall violent crimes are down based on the 5-year averages for property crimes and violent crimes. They're lower, and we feel that we're experiencing a very positive trend. Also failed to mention to you, if you look at the very center of the page there on the motor vehicle thefts, last year during February, we were already sitting at 23 motor vehicle thefts. Very, very pleased to tell you that we had 8 in February of 2022. So I don't know if people are doing a better job on taking their keys out of the vehicles or not loaning them to people they shouldn't loan to that don't return them. But that number has returned to a number that's more acceptable to us than what we've seen in previous times. Next page in the packet is page 11. It's another table. This does the direct comparison for February of 2021 to February of 2022. You'll see an increase in reported fraud cases. Those are kind of one of those things, they go through cycles. You'll have people perpetrating frauds, and they'll do a couple of them, and we'll end up taking some reports and working those cases. I don't think it's anything to be alarmed with at this point. Crashes are up, but close to what we saw pre-pandemic. Calls were slightly up for the month of February compared to February of 2021. But they're still lower than what we've seen traditionally. You'll see that the traffic unit has been very active during the month of February, doing some activities to try to push down crashes and injuries. And they did some very positive work during the month of February for us. The next page in your packet, page 12, is the significant events. There were just a couple of these that really jumped out to me as something that I thought would be of particular interest to you. The very first case reported on there, the kidnapping, 10/22/00/1047. This was a stolen vehicle. The victims on this, they pulled up at a store, got out, the husband went inside, the wife's feeding the baby in the back seat. Individual jumps in the front seat, drives off with the wife and baby in the back. A short while later, they put the wife and child, tell them to get out, take the vehicle up to Hamilton County, where they get encountered and arrested up there. While we were entering, the vehicle stolen. We learned that Hamilton County has the vehicle and the offender in custody. So very odd case. It really, really jumped off the page to me as mom and child, driven off with in the car. So very unusual. The next case that was a little unusual was 1058. This was a commercial burglary where a bunch of vape products were stolen. I believe that juveniles were the offenders on this, and they actually had encountered a juvenile at another location a day or so after this report was taken with jewel items that were believed to be taken from the burglary. So it's one of those things. The detectives have done a really good job on that case. And then the other case that was fairly significant for February was 22/00/0671. This involved a intoxicated male that had been drinking with someone else at his residence, and at some point decided shooting a firearm off inside his dwelling was appropriate. The individual with him ran off, called the police. We ended up out there. GSP SWAT came. We were gonna have to make entry, and fortunately we were able, with one of our negotiators, to get the individual to pick up the phone and see that it was a better result for him to come out versus GSP going to get him for us. So we did get that subject in custody and made the applicable charges on that. But those were the three cases out of the significant events that really stood out from the report this month. If you've got questions about any of the other ones on that page, I'll try to answer those for you. But those three really were a little different than what we normally see. The next part of this report is the crash statistics. That begins on page 13. Had 126 crashes, roadway crashes reported during the month of February. As always, angle and rear end crashes were the most common. Following too closely was the leading contributing factor in non-injury crashes. Chattanooga Road was a high crash roadway. Walnut and Chattanooga Road had the highest number of crash-related injuries. Thursday was the high crash day of the week, and the high crash times was between 4 and 7 p.m. You'll see that high crash day of the week this past month, only one crash separated first and the two tied second place days of the week. So it wasn't a huge difference in that. And then the lunch rush hour was just one crash lower than what the evening rush hour crash times were. So that's pretty consistent with what we see month in, month out every year. If you've got any questions about the crime or crash statistic for the month of February 2022, I'll be happy to answer those for you. If not, I'll submit those for your approval at this time.
I have one on page 10, Chief.
Yes, sir.
The clearance rate, you and I had chatted once about the clearance rate in 2021 being about 53%. I note that it's 155%. So are we to deduce that that means you solved 100% of this year and then or roughly 100% and then some of prior crimes? Is that what that means?
When that number goes up, it is because some of the unsolved crimes from previous years, the investigative work wraps up and when we close those, it gets reported in the current year.
Yeah.
So you'll see that when we go in and do the deep dive in it and actually look at what the current cases are and the clearance rate, it's going to be a different number than what you report for all of the crimes that we've had over, the history. So I'll get Robinson, our analyst, to send you what the current 2022 and 2022 solvability things are on it, and so you can compare the two numbers and make it a little easier. There's got to be a cleaner way to show that where it represents the current month a little better. I'll see if we can figure out how to get that where it does that, because that does it does jump off the page. But if you look, 2018 and 2019
yeah.
are very similar.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that it jumps off the page where it doesn't match what you expect to see.
Right.
So, but I will work on that and see if we can come up with a little bit different way to report that gives you a better view of what it is at this very moment on what's currently happening, if I can.
Thank you.
Any further, sir?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second.
Aye.
Opposed? They are approved.
Thank you. The very next item up for the police department is the financial statistics for February 2022. That begins on page 14 in your packet through 29. You'll see that we've expended at the time of this report approximately 15% of our 2022 budget. We do believe there are sufficient funds to accomplish our 2022 goals with the funds that are allocated to us. As with all the city departments, we will be closely monitoring our fuel budgets. We're already, $1.50 above what we budgeted per gallon for the year. So we know that there will have to be some adjustments, but we do anticipate that there'll be some lap salary and some other things that we'll be able to do some budget transfers or amendments to shore that up. But we also are taking steps with trying to reduce the amount of hours on the vehicles and other things where they're not just sitting idling and burning fuel when we're not operating them. So we're trying to do everything we can to make sure we are more fuel conscious and but you may see us have to make some adjustments in that line. And I assume fire department will be in the same boat. It's the most expensive gas I've ever seen in my lifetime. So. You know,
I can only imagine.
and the
right?
fact that a lot of our flooring industries and stuff have resins and other things that are petroleum based and all that, I'm sure that price crunch is going to hit us all soon because of, you know, the supply chain. When they burn up all the reserves they've got on those materials and they're hitting that new high dollar stuff, it's going to make for a interesting year. But if you've got any questions specifically about anything contained in our financial summaries and statistical pages, I'd be happy to answer them for you. If not, I submit that to you for approval at this time. What they put all those procedures and protocols in place, you know, after 2007, 2008, where, you know, pretty much you've got to pay at the pump with a card or you're not going to, you know, get gas.
Saw
So,
a thing on TV the other day where people are taking cordless drills and drilling into the side of the gas tanks and siphoning people's gas out of their car, but it ruins the tank in the process. So, you know, they get a few gallons of gas and you got to buy a new $1,500 tank.
but, you know, the big thing that we've seen when it comes to high dollar items that keep getting just taken off cars are those catalytic converters. They walk off. You leave your car or work truck sitting at your mill over the weekend and coming back and having your catalytic converter stolen is probably not going to be a big surprise for them. I mean, it's just rampant. And, you know, they don't have serial numbers or anything like those on those items. So, you know, unreputable salvage or recycling places, if they take them, you know, easy money. But,
Let's make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Walker,
Second.
Aye.
opposed, they are approved.
thank you. Final item for the police department for this month will be our written directives review. You'll see that there are 4 policies in your packets this month. Terry Miller has reviewed these policies. Him and Captain Scott have worked on these, made the required changes to make sure they're in compliance with CLIA standards, state law, and best practices. So we did consult with him and have made the changes that he's requested on those. They're very minor changes overall in the policies this time. Very first policy up is the 2.8, which is news, media, and public relations. There were minor wording changes. There's no procedural changes in the policy. The biggest thing that I took from that policy is we cleaned up the open records portions of it on how we comply with city policy as well as department policy on releasing records. And the language on it now matches the city's policy to make sure that it's in compliance. The 2.16 is next policy, that's forms development and modifications approval. And what we changed in that policy is we've got a process for any forms or documents that we use inside the department. They have a number assigned to them and it goes through an approval process. So we can show exactly what documents and what version of the documents were used at whatever point in time. And in previous years, the forms were modified in the support services division. But the fact that these forms tie directly to policy, we felt that it would be better to move them over to the administration division where Captain Scott, who does the policy reviews, he also looks at the forms to make sure they're in compliance with best standards and we get all the appropriate approvals. So that's what the changing in that, the wording on that was done for. So it's just an internal thing that we're doing at the department, but overall, you shouldn't impact anybody outside the organization. Commendation and achievement is 3.6, the very next policy up. This is another one of those policies where the use of the word citizen is not being used. It talks about non-member of the agency. So it's just cleaning up the language a little bit. Instead of referring to somebody as a citizen, it's just talking about the difference in award going to somebody that's a member of the department versus somebody that's a member of the community at large. So that's what that change was made for. And then 4.15 is the emergency vehicle driving, and just slight rewording to it, but there was no change to the procedure or how we actually operate emergency vehicles. If you've got questions about any of those four policies, I'll be happy to go through any of those for you, but very, very minor changes, just to make sure that we've reviewed them in a appropriate time period like we always do to keep them fresh and compliant with law.
Have a chance to.
I have, Mr. Chairman. I've reviewed them and made comments, mostly not about substance, but just about words. And department has worked through that. And from a legal point of view, these are fine.
Second.
Aye.
Opposed? They are.
Thank you very much.
Good morning again. We'll jump right in. Start off with our February 2022 statistical report. And I'm happy to report to the commission this morning that we actually have the month of February, and it was this year's report, not last year's or not the previous month. So we're starting off on the right foot this morning, I believe. But looking at February 2022, you'll see on page number 47, we responded to a total of 295 calls for service. 198 of those were EMS in nature, 97 fell under the fire category. And looking on down toward the middle of the page, focusing on mutual aid or automatic aid, you'll see that for those that were categorized as such, we provided 14 automatic aid to Whitfield County and received one. Our overlapping calls, we had 92 total overlapping calls, or 31.19% of our incidents were overlapping, meaning we had two or more units out at the same time. And then our response time, our average overall response time from dispatch to arrival was 4 minutes and 41 seconds. And our average turnout time came in at 1 minute and 9 seconds. And our average on scene time, as seen on page number 48, was 26 minutes and 31 seconds, which all of that leads to our overlap percentage as well. And that's the summary of the month. And looking on page 49, this is a little more of an in-depth look at the statistics and at the incidents responded to. You see on top of the page, this is our average response time for our first arriving unit. And it breaks it down categorically. And this does include our turnout time as well as our travel time as well. So that is dispatch until arrival on scene. Then further down in the next category is our incident count type by type. You'll see that for the codes 100 through 199, those are the NIFRS codes for actual fires. That means those were actual fires that were on the scene when we arrived. We had 15 of those for the month of February. And then looking further down, codes 300 through 399 are EMS in nature. 198 of our responses, as I've already stated, were EMS in nature, and it breaks it down categorically there. The lion's share of those responses were medical assist or assist EMS crews. And that accounted for 170 of our responses. And then moving on down, moving on to the next page, I apologize. Moving to the next page, I want to look at our preventions division. And rather than going through all of the list of the prevention division reports, which breaks it down by the location and the types of inspections that they conducted, I'll try to summarize this for time's sake for the commission. And those particulars are listed in page 63 through 112. But looking at the actions of our preventions division for the month of February, you'll see that they conducted 1 alcohol inspection in February, 71 annual inspections, 1 annual apartment inspection. We attended to 1 complaint. During February, we did 1 fireworks inspection, 2 kitchen hood installations, 1 new construction inspection, 15 OTC inspections, 7 plan reviews, 61 site visits, and we inspected 1 unsafe building in the month of February. So our preventions division was fairly busy in February, as you can see. And moving on through the report on page number 51, this breaks our incidents down by the day of the week. And you'll see that when you look at our incidents, Tuesday and Wednesday were our 2 busiest days of the week, followed by Thursday, which for whatever reason, that is pretty consistent month after month, that Tuesday and or Wednesday are both of our busiest days of the week. Page 52. Breaks it down by shift and by district. Looking at that, I believe C shift may have been the busiest during the month of February. But that just gives you an idea of where our busiest locations in the city are by district. Page 53 is breaking our incidents down by time of the day. And you'll see that from 11 o'clock in the morning to noon, and then beginning at 5 o'clock tends to be our busiest times of the day. And that stays pretty consistent when you look month after month as well. And then the next page of the report on page 54 through page number 56, this is going to break our incidents down again by stations. They actually go numerically by the number of incidents responded for each station, but this report will break it down by actual NIFRS category, and consistently EMS calls for each district are going to be our line share of our incidents responded to for each month. And next is on page number 57, this is our, again, our NIFRS reports broken down by NIFRS category. These are all the major categories. And you see that, again, rescue and emergency medical accounted for 198 of the 295, and 33 false alarm or false calls for the month of February. Those were the largest amount of incidents responded to for February. And as I said, the rest of these pages through page, I believe it was 112, these are all listings of our preventions division inspections detailed by address and also by violations. And we'll skip through that. I'll answer any questions that any of you may have concerning any of those. But if there are no questions, I'm going to get you to turn to somehow our training division made it in the middle of that. And page number 62 will be our training division report. That threw me off a little bit. Page number 62, as I said, our training division, you'll see that looking at February, our department delivered a 40-hour trench rescue. This is specialized rescue certification course that our training division delivered and was instructing. We had 25 total attendees at this course. 6 of those attendees were for Catoosa and Whitfield County Fire Departments. We had 19 members of our department that received certification in this course. We also delivered hazardous material and confined space refresher training during the month of February. Cargill, which is located, one of our local businesses located on Brook Hollow Industrial, actually opened up their business to us, allowed us to come in to tour their facility, and as well, we 2 tabletop scenarios were conducted consisting of a mock chemical release with a fire and a confined space rescue that was simulated using their on-site reactor. So this proved to be very good training and very worthwhile. Overall, our training hours for the month of February was 3,619 man hours for February. Our outside schools that were attended by our personnel, we have our firefighter of the year, Matt Asbell, attended his 80-hour investigator course. That is a very tough course. He did very well at that. We also had 7 members of our department attend structural collapse rescue technician at the academy. And all 7 of these members, as listed on the report, attained national certification through National Board of Fire Service Professional Qualifications. We also had 6 firefighters that traveled to Pensacola Beach and attended Fire Tactics Leadership and Tactics Conference in Pensacola. And that, gentlemen, is our February statistical report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have concerning that report. But if there are no questions, I'd ask your approval for the February statistical report.
I have a question, Chief. On page 106, there's a company called Ultrasonic Composites with about, if I count them correctly, 5 or 6 fails, plus some corrective action plans. I think it's 2 or 3 pages. What's the next step when a business has that many fails? Like what enforcement power do you guys have? I'm just thinking out loud. I've seen corrective action plan frequently, but I haven't seen that many fails on one business.
Yeah, so a lot of times, what we have found, there's been a lot of businesses that for some reason have fallen through the cracks. And so they didn't know what they didn't know. And I can't attest if this is one of those. But the course of action obviously depends upon what the violation was or what the failure was. And so some things dictate that you have a shorter amount of time to fix the deficiency, or we can have, fire marshal has a lot of authority. We can have power pulled, we can have license pulled, we can do a lot of things if it is deemed to be unsafe for the citizens or the occupants of that structure. I haven't went through each one of these failures, to be honest with you. But just scanning through this, a lot of these are minor infractions that this location, this business probably didn't even know that they had an issue. And most oftentimes those issues are corrected within a week or so. And then the business will then contact our preventions division and they'll go back out for reinspection, which is whenever you see site visits on our report, that typically is what a site visit is. We've been recalled by the business to come back out and they get a clear report from there.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second by Mr. Walker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved.
Next on page number 113 is our February financial report, and looking at the ending of February as a whole, you'll see that we were well under budget. There are still some annual projects or annual tasks that we are still in the process of completing. But many of those have been completed. I too, just as Chief Kaysen had shared, have some concerns with where our fuel budget is going. Just to give you an example, our January fuel bill, and this was actually before we started seeing the high increases in fuel costs, but our January fuel bill was just over $2,000 more than the norm. And we didn't really do a lot of extra driving around. We wasn't doing hydrants. We wasn't doing things like that. It was just the sheer cost of fuel versus what we had budgeted. So we do have some concerns there as we move forward. But we have kind of went into a conservative mode to make sure that, because I fully expect to see that our supply cost and everything else associated, whether it be due to delivery or production, all things are affected by fuel bills. So we've kind of went into a conservative mode to make sure that we don't spend too much all on the front end and kind of monitor and see what's going to happen with cost for goods and everything else that goes along, so that we don't run into any issues as we move throughout the year. But all in all, everything is in line as it should be. Most lines are under budget for the ending of February, which is very much of a relief to me so far. So right now, we see no reason that we will not complete 2022 within our budget. But that is our February financial report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of the commission may have. Otherwise, I ask your approval for that report.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second by Mr. Walker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Last on our agenda is review of our biannual review of our policies. We have two that was up for review and one new policy. Both these policies was provided to the attorney through the packet. And the first policy that we have is policy C3. This is a procedural policy. This is concerning media communications and outlines how, who, and when we can engage the media. And most of the time, we like to just push this straight off to our city's PIO and let him do that for us. But this outlines that there was no changes in this policy. This was simply a review, and we saw no need for any changes in that policy. The next policy is concerning fire investigations. This is FO15. FO15 outlines how, when, and where we will investigate and who will investigate, and is all inclusive on anything concerning our investigations. Again, this policy was up for review. There was no changes noted, and this is just simply a review. Our last policy is a brand new policy, and one that has went through the city's HR department as well as the city attorney. All suggested changes have been made to this policy, and this policy GP16 outlines restricted duty assignments as well as the return of employees after having been assigned to restricted duty. It's a pretty lengthy policy, but it's the first time we've ever had a policy such as this. And basically just looking at the policy and summarizing the policy in the event that someone one of our employees have to have surgery of some type, or this also covers our workers' comp claims as well. This will outline how they can come back to work on restricted duty. And this is for both certified and civilian personnel as well. This also outlines the length of the time that they can be out on restricted duty as well. I did reach out to the police department and mirror their time frame as well, so that we're pretty consistent among public safety agencies in the city of Dalton. So the maximum amount of time that somebody can be on a restricted duty assignment is 6 months. There can be a 6-month extension with proof from the attending physician on that. This policy also outlines what an employee has to do once they return from any length of time from restricted duty or sick leave. And also the last thing in this policy that I'll mention is the attachments that's at the back. The first attachment on page number 126, this is a temporary restricted duty assignment. If it is going to be a lengthy restricted duty assignment, then we will fill out this form so that there's no question as to what the employee can and can't do and what the expectations are while that employee is on restricted duty, because obviously he or she will not be able to fulfill their normal job description. So therefore, this is pretty much outlining a new job description, though it be temporary. The other form on page 127, this is one that I've got high hopes that physicians will fill this out, but this is a snippet from NFPA 1582. That is a very lengthy document, one that if I sent to a physician, I would probably lose every employee I have because it is very exhaustive. And when you look at it, you would actually question who in the world would do this job. But this is just a snippet from 1582 and covers a lot of the most of the strenuous activities and as well mental stressors that exist in our profession. And the intent of this is just to make the physician aware of the stressors that our employees go through when they are considering whether they're going to release our employee to full duty, light duty, or not allow them to return at work at all. And that starts, as I said, on page 127. And then if you look on page 128, at minimum, what I would like to have a physician do is complete section 3, which outlines for us those simple tasks that someone may or may not be able to do as a result of a surgery or an injury. So as in other words, are they able to stand and walk, and for how long, sitting, driving, lifting, carrying, or any other behavioral limitations that they may have. So we can have a more detailed outline of what someone can or cannot do while on light or restricted duty. But that is the policy. And as I said, city attorney has reviewed this, provided comments and changes. They have been included in this document. And I would entertain any questions that any of you may have. If there are none, I would ask your approval for these 2 reviews and 1 new policy.
I have just one. Are your firemen and women cross-trained so that if one could sit but not do the other things, they could be like a dispatcher, so you can rotate them out, or what? I'm just curious, how you handle that.
Yeah, a lot of times, depending on what their rank and what their knowledge of, say, records management and things like that, a lot of times when somebody's on restricted duty, they have the job of, if they can sit and they can look at a computer, they're going to do every report for the whole shift. They're going to do those type of things. That we also assign them to, say, the preventions division to help the preventions division catch up on annuals and different reporting requirements that they may have. We definitely have plenty of things that we can assign out.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, GP 16, the chief did want us to review that carefully. Greg Batt's office, Human Resources, looked from the standpoint of the City of Dalton Employee Handbook, and particularly the Federal Family Medical Leave Act, and had input on that. My office, and I looked at that as well. It's well stated. My office looked to be sure that the work-related injury portion, the language was consistent with the Georgia Workers' Compensation Act and rules, so that it would work seamlessly with our carriers on those in terms of it's often called light duty or restricted duty, where an employee can't do their regular duty job. So we think this is appropriate. We think it works in all these categories, because what this GP 16 is addressing is employees that have both non-work related disabilities to do regular duty and work related. So all that had to be taken into account, and I think it does.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Walker. All in favor? I have a concern. I would like to request that in the future, if we're giving, asked to approve the policy, that we have that in advance. It's very difficult in a 3-day period to go through everything that's in a packet. I don't feel comfortable approving it. I'm probably going to abstain. I haven't really figured what I'm going to do, but I am concerned. I think we should always be given a month, presented one meeting and approved or disapproved at the next meeting. Unless there's an emergency situation, in that case, the attorney or the city administrator can tell us that and we can act accordingly. But for routine, new policy, I've said enough. No, I would not. I don't want to delay the process that we've started.
All in favor?
Aye. Those opposed?
Thank you. And just informational for the commission, we will start our on-site training for our new records management system tomorrow. We've been training actually on it for about a month, about 3 weeks now. And we're very impressed with what we've seen thus far. But the end user training will start tomorrow. That means everybody else, the admin, has been training for the last 3 weeks. Tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday will be end user training. Monday will be go live. So we'll be moving to the system on Monday is what the schedule is. And our staff has been working very hard and diligently at making this happen, along with Fireworks, which is the records management company. So next month, over the next couple of months, I'll ask the commission's patience as we put together a new packet of reports. The business analytics part of this reporting software is very expansive. So I'm excited about that. They also have a lot of canned reports for our accreditation process. So we're extremely excited about that, but hopefully next month, you guys will be able to see the results of the fruits of the labor for that.
Yeah.
That it is. And I will, take a moment to just brag on our personnel. We had a structure fire, as you know. I sent everybody an email. We were able to remove the occupant from the structure. When we removed the occupant from the structure, reports that I've received that he was not breathing. He had no pulse. Our personnel started CPR. We were able to get the pulse back on the patient and then turn him over to EMS. And last word I've got on him, he was flown out to a burn center in South Georgia. So hopefully that'll be a positive outcome. But our personnel, they jumped to the occasion, put to act their training, and provided one of our citizens best opportunity for survival on that. So it was a great job for them guys. Thank you.
Chief, on a side note, just how the recruits going on, if they're going all right, or?
Well, after listening to Chief Casey brag about his 5 new, I wasn't going to say anything. No, we have lost 2 of our recruits. Another one will be resigning today. He is actually the one that we had acquired from Calhoun Fire Department. But for whatever reason, he decided to resign after a week. He was with us for a week. He was out last week with the flu, and then he decided not to come back. So we are down to 3 recruits. We also have another firefighter that's been with us now for 6 years that will be resigning and moving into the private sector for a job. So that puts us down 3 if including the three we have in recruit school right now. So we'll keep trying. Thank you.
You feel it's a budget? Is it a salary? Is that why these guys are leaving?
I think it's just not realizing what the job requires. The physical fitness and just the people aren't accustomed to our type of environment. One that, has rank and file. And I know the police department's the same way. When somebody doesn't follow the chain of command, that's when somebody gets hurt. So not everybody's accustomed to that at all. So there's probably multiple factors. The city gave us the best opportunity that they could give us last year with the pay raises and competing with other municipalities and jurisdictions. And at this point, it's just finding somebody that really wants to do the job. No doubt. No doubt.
Workload appears to be a little worse. And, I've seen, rode by several training centers and noticed that ours.
If our training center gets dust on it, there's a problem. Thank you.
Compliment you on your.
Thank you.
Any more questions or concerns that come before the board? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.